If I say a man is a man and a woman is a woman is inherently transphobic, that's not discrimination, that's disagreement. If they say that's discrimination, they're overly applying their own label.
I think when you say like they're mentally ill, like that gives off
I have said, and I will continue to maintain, that gender dysphoria or gender identity disorder, whichever DSM you choose to use, is a mental illness.
Our culture is really lost, as many of you probably know. It seems that nobody has a sense of purpose anymore, a sense of what to do. We have this society where we're always told, do whatever you want. As long as it makes you feel good, go for it. What does that lead to? I think it's very simple. Chaos and destruction. We really see this especially with the whole gender ideology that permeates in our culture. This whole idea of, even something as basic as the sex of being male or female is not even accepted by the masses anymore. That's crazy. And we're gonna see Ben Shapiro address just that in this video. But first, guys, please make sure you like our video, comment, and subscribe to the Resist the Mainstream YouTube channel. I'm your host, Darian. And let's get into it.
That a lot of your speech could incite the same kind of violence.
I mean, you heard my speech tonight. Do you feel that my speech could incite violence?
Well,
I mean that seriously. That's an honest question.
I know you're asking honestly. I feel that for me, as an individual, it isn't, but I could see how a lot of your points I really disagreed with. I literally have a list of
and that's fine. I mean, that's the good part, right? Where we disagree and we can have a conversation.
I just was wondering in terms of, and what I mean by inciting violence is encouraging the same people who believe in like your transphobic beliefs, even that like homophobia is a sin based on your religious beliefs. Do you believe that because of what you say you can encourage a lot of people to act on those beliefs?
So I have a very strong standard with regard to incitement, and I'm very consistent about this. If I'm not telling somebody to commit violence, I'm not inciting them to violence. I've held the standard for Barack Obama when he was saying anti-police things, and then somebody went and shot up some police officers in Dallas. I said that's not Barack Obama's fault. When a Bernie Sanders supporter went and shot up a congressional baseball game, I said that's not Bernie Sanders' fault because Bernie Sanders wasn't calling for that. Political debate requires that you talk to people and people take your words as what they mean, not as an excuse to go and do violence. I've never called for violence, nor would I. As far as the idea that my words are some sort of attack, a violent attack, for example, on folks who are transgender, my view, I know, but I'm responding to the people who are not you who might say that. Okay. So the idea that I am transphobic, for example, this is a bizarre kind of attack in the sense that I don't know that I've ever exhibited phobia of trans people. I'm not afraid of trans people.
Well, transphobia is more along the lines of prejudice against the trans.
So I actually think that your first characterization was right. I think that transphobia is really disagreement with the basic principle that the trans community is trying to purvey, which is that people's sex is malleable, that people can move from male to female, and that it is my job, objectively, to now call them the name they wish to be called, and to teach my children that men can be women and women can be men. I fundamentally disagree with that point. Now, with that said, is everybody in the United States entitled to the same rights? Of course, but your right does not extend to forcing me to call you what you want me to call you. That's not the way this works. That violates my freedom of speech. So, in interpersonal relationships, if I were out to dinner with a trans person, would I make a point of noting their proper biological sex? No, because that would be impolite. When I'm talking about the general principle of is a man a woman or is a woman a man, the answer is I will say that a man is a man and a woman is a woman and a he is a he and a she is a she. And if I'm in a public debate with somebody, I will say the same thing.
Just a quick little point here. It's, that whole term of homophobia, transphobia, it really is just a bully term. And you'll see they're really nonsense terms. You notice we have homophobia, transphobia, Islamophobia, xenophobia. It's all these bully terms used to throw someone in a category. Oh, he's Islamophobic, he's homophobic, he's thisophobic, thatophobic, blah, blah. It's so bad. I can't help but notice you're never gonna hear someone talk about, let's say, Christophobia. That's not a term. In fact, if you say that, someone will probably look at you like you're a total idiot. Christophobia? What are you talking about? Well, why not? If homophobia can be a term, saying that, for example, you don't believe that people should engage in those types of relations, that makes you evil and homophobic. Well, who's not to say someone's Christophobic for not letting a Christian have that belief? Ben Shapiro even said himself, well, yeah, maybe I wouldn't make a point to call them out as a certain gender, them being a transgender person, right? Well, in that case, is he really homophobic? Assuming we even believe that term's real, which I don't, but that's a whole nother discussion. Food for thought. Let's keep going.
I do want to clarify that when I meant, I wasn't trying to say disagreement, I was relating it to the same definition of homophobia, which is prejudice, or I tried to say discrimination.
Right, so I think that, again, homophobia, there are some people who actively want to do violence to people who are gay, right? I mean, those people are not me or anybody that I agree with, obviously. I've never, at any point in my entire career, ever advocated violence, God forbid, against anybody in a civilized society. That's not something that I believe in, and I think it's evil. As far as I think, again, your original definition of transphobia actually is better applied here as well. I think it's disagreement with certain principles that the homosexual community wishes to espouse.
What I was saying was that's not what I was instead
I know,
of
I'm saying that I agree with your original definition and not your definition. So the definition that you made.
No, I'm not saying it's mine. It's one that I Googled that I found.
Right. So, and I think that definition is wrong, and I think that the one that you Freudian slipped was right. Is what
I'm saying based on the institution of, I don't want to say the institution of Google because that's an extremely general thing to say, but in terms of as soon as you search transphobia, homophobia, this is what comes up.
Right, and I think,
do you feel like even though you're disagreeing with transphobia, with the trans community, which I believe we all have our own disagreements, I'm asking, do you feel that the fact that with your disagreement, you're inherently, through the institutions that have provided these definitions, discriminating against trans community.
And I'm
thus encouraging other people to follow.
So
I know
here's
it's a long question, but I had to encapsulate a lot of things.
So here's what I'm saying. I disagree with either their definition is wrong or it's overly broad in its application.
Okay.
So if the idea is that if I say a man is a man and a woman is a woman is inherently transphobic, that's not discrimination, that's disagreement. If they say that's discrimination, they're overly applying their own label.
I think when you say they're mentally ill, that gives off.
I have said, and I will continue to maintain, that gender dysphoria or gender identity disorder, whichever DSM you choose to use, is a mental illness. That is, and again, God forbid that it should be said with any animus, because this is not said with animus. When people are suffering, these are clearly folks who are suffering. When people are suffering, you shouldn't be saying stuff with animus. I'm not saying that as a gotcha to people who are transgender. The point that I'm making is that when a society begins treating folks who have mental illness as though they are representing an objective reality, they are doing no service to the people who actually suffer from a mental illness. My grandfather suffered from schizophrenia, paranoid schizophrenia. He was institutionalized. If the doctors had said to him, Nate, you're fine. We believe that the radio is actually talking to you. That is not a service to him. That would have been terrible for him. Right? They put him in an institution, they gave him lithium, and it helped. Now, I'm not saying there's even a great solution for folks who have gender identity disorder or gender dysphoria, because the solutions that I've seen, including transgender surgery, are not intensely effective from all the studies that I've seen. It's a tragic, tragic situation. But the solution is not to redefine as a society what sex means along anti-biological lines. As far as the homophobia point, it's my own religious belief about the sinful nature of particular people's behavior should have no impact on how you act in a free country or how you think. It's a free country. Do what the hell you want.
Great points all around by Shapiro. I really enjoyed that. I think the point, especially about the mental disorder and how it's not, an inherently mean thing to say, it's so true. People who identify themselves as transgender have a suicidality rate of about 50%. That's insanely high. Nobody can seriously argue that somebody who has a 50% chance of trying to end their own life is in a decent or proper state of mind. You'd be ridiculous to. Yet pointing out that that's some kind of mental disorder or mental illness, that makes you a villain? It makes no sense. Furthermore, let's just talk about other mental illnesses we might observe in our life. If somebody is, say, very depressed and is lying in bed all day, not taking care of themselves, not doing what they need to get done, not working, etc., etc., many people would say, yeah, they're in an improper state of mind. Some would even argue mentally ill. Is that not depressophobic? Where does this madness end? That's it for today, folks. Thanks so much for tuning in. We hope you liked the video. Please comment below. Let us know your thoughts. Let us know what you want to see in the future, and we'll see you guys again soon. Thanks, and God bless.